you get a little tired of morons. Like, you get a little tired of the pandering. In fact, this entire show should be called the Pandering Show. Yeah, we're just going to pander. Give me a group, we'll pander to them. Give me a group, we'll say, well, we really should do. No, shut up. And it all started after Harrison Butker, the kicker for the Kansas City Chiefs, made a speech at a Catholic university, Benedictine College. Dude's very Catholic, espouses Christian values. Good for him, man. I'm Catholic and I'm down with what he had to say. And if you don't like it, great. That's America. 350 million different people with different opinions. Sometimes we come together, sometimes we don't. But this whole idea, because a guy's a Christian, he should be fired, is absolutely ludicrous to me. In fact, aging rocker Eddie Vedder called Harrison Butker a pussy. Oh, my God. When you got Eddie Vedder going against you, I don't know what to tell you. Oh, my God. What are you going to do? I don't know. I mean, the world is nuts right now. All the dude said was, hey, women, go out and get your careers, but you're really going to know at some point that your heart is at home with your kids. Nobody said stay in the kitchen, you morons. What is wrong with people? But anyway, Peter Ham, another woke writer. Now, nobody knows who Peter Ham is because he is not, repeat, not part of the Hams from the land of Sky Blue Water Beer Company, which was great beer back in the day, and it might still be. I haven't had a Hams in a long time. But anyway, Peter Ham, not to be confused with John Hamm. A woke writer at the Kansas City Star wrote a piece suggesting that the Kansas City Chiefs, listen to this, should cut Harrison Butker. Really? Dude's only made some big kicks. I'm just saying he's made big kicks in Super Bowls. And replace him with a female kicker, mentioning former Vanderbilt kicker Sarah Fuller and a girl, Maya Turner, who kicks for a team in Canada for poetic justice after Butker's Neanderthal outburst. Yeah, everything's a Neanderthal. Like, okay, everything is supposed to be progressive? I mean, have you seen what's coming? Have you paid attention to the streets? Have you paid attention to the poverty? Have you paid attention to the communism that this particular regime wants us to go to? And do you know what that means? I'll give you an example. I've told you this before. I went to Berlin after the wall fell. Left side, bright and sunny, Democratic. Right side, communism. Dark, gray, small cars, smoky, crazy. That's where this world wants us to go. But if you espouse Christian values and say a man should be a man, which is all Butker did, then you are a Neanderthal, according to Peter Ham. Hey, Peter Ham, I got two words for you. My ass. How about you stick it? Here's a little dose of the great Peter Ham. Peter Ham says the Kansas City Chiefs should fire Harrison Butker and hire a girl for poetic justice after Harrison Butker's Neanderthal outburst and because the pipeline of talent is real. The next Kansas City kicker should be a woman. This is not a joke. This is not unrealistic, and it would be good for business. Let me stop right there. Let me see if I understand this. The NFL is a monolith. The NFL is the biggest, most attractive sport in the world not named European soccer. The NFL makes money hand over fist. The Kansas City Chiefs are the best team, the best operation. Sleazy as hell. Everybody there gets arrested. Not everybody, but you get what I'm saying. But they make money hand over fist. Everywhere they go is a sellout. Games are the biggest ones. On national TV, the Mahomes jersey. Now the Butker jersey, out of this world sold. But according to Peter Ham, bringing in some woman like Sarah Fuller, who couldn't kick a ball 20 yards, if we're being honest, and I think we should here, that would be good for business. Yes, line up to see the girl kicker. Hey, next thing you know, guess her weight and see the woman with a beard. Oh, wait, we've got women with a beard everywhere in this world. I don't understand it. I don't. But I do understand it. We pander. Son of a biscuit maker, do the woke folk pander. Kansas City Star, ever since Whitlock left, yeah, I'll say it, has been shit. Sam Mellinger was a god-awful reporter who had to leave, and now he is currently helping run the Kansas City Chiefs. No, the Royals into the ground. Anything the Kansas City Star touches sucks. But hey, let's bring in a girl, and if you watch Sarah Fuller, she couldn't kick it from me to you. And I'm standing here, and you're standing where that camera is, and it's about 5 feet. But yes, let's do that. Because Harrison Butker had the nerve to say, young men, go out and be men. Young men, go out and be protectors of women. Young men, go out and hunt. Go out and gather. In short, be men. Women, you're going to love your profession. Congratulations on your degree, but your heart will always be in your house with your kids. You know what? Got to tell you, the Neanderthal thinking is true. Told you this before. I got 5 women in my life. All have very, very successful careers. Whether it's softball with my wife or teaching like my mother and everything in between, from being a prosecutor to being a realtor, you name it, they do it. And guess what? Their heart is in their home. Now, I don't know why that pisses everybody off except for this word, pander. We must pander because a few little girls and a few little boys got all upset because Harrison Butker, a Catholic, speaking at a Catholic institution at a Catholic graduation, had the nerve, the gall, the unmitigated gall to espouse Catholic values. And now we want to replace him with Sarah Fuller, a circus act. I mean, let's be honest. I mean, if we're going to be honest, we should be honest across the board. Sarah Fuller couldn't kick for Andrean High School, but Andrean High School has a good kicker. Usually does. Pretty good soccer program as well. So maybe that's unfair. But yes, there's a girl in Canada that can kick, I suppose. Good. Bring her in place of the guy who has kicked 4 different big-time field goals in Super Bowls. Yeah, that's what needs to happen. Poetic justice would be this. Game on the line, Super Bowl Sunday, Chiefs down 2, 1 second on the clock, 68 yards for a field goal, and Butker drills it. For the win, for the Chiefs, for the city of Kansas City. That would be poetic justice. That is what I'm rooting like hell for. And all the little boys and girls that want to say, hey, the Chiefs need to make a strategic call about Butker's future with the team. If he could agree to shut his mouth, the current story may fade. I hope the current story doesn't fade, and so do the Chiefs. You know why? Because all their jerseys that say Butker on the back are selling. They are, after all, plenty of athletes with backward cultural views. Everything's backwards to the panderers. But they're tolerated if they can mostly stick to sports cliches in interviews. If they're superstars, they sometimes can keep yapping and get away with it. Butker is no Mahomes. He's a special teams player. That gives him less leverage with the team. True. They could trade him for a solid kicker, or they could make a statement by signing a woman to kick. Liz Helton. Yeah. Ashley Martin. Yeah. Katie Ninda. Yeah. Sarah Fuller might take a call. Maya Turner would likely give serious thought to an offer. Let me explain something to you. Every one of those women would take the offer, you dumbass. Every one of those kickers would love to be a part of the Kansas City Chiefs. But so, because a guy has views different than some clown named Peter Ham, he needs to get cut. He needs to get traded, and we need to bring a circus act in. Great. That's the liberal world that we live in. That's the actual fake world that we live in, because 99.9% of rational people side with Butker. Jerseys have sold out. Normal people on the streets when discussing, at least with me, and I was all over the place this weekend. I mean, I was everywhere. I was at the Pacer game. I was at the golf course. I went to the mall. I went everywhere this weekend and had a wonderful weekend. Everyone was supporting Butker. Hey, Dan, I loved what you said about Butker. Hey, Dan, keep up the fight. Now, do I hang in a liberal crowd? Not a chance. Do I hang in a conservative crowd? Not really. I've always hung in a common sense crowd. I have. I had one person say, yeah, well, that idiot Butker, another liquored up kicker, that's a big saying here in Indianapolis, said women shouldn't have careers. I looked. I said, did you read what he said? And I showed him what he said. He goes, oh, never mind. That's the kind of people I hang out with. The kind of people that, frankly, you can get down with, that have some common sense you can discuss with. So all of you that don't like Harrison Butker, that's great. Be mad. Go over there and be mad. Speaking of mad, Dennis Prager. God bless Dennis Prager. Dennis Prager sat down with Adam Carolla, who is a friend of the show, and he said something that I have said for a long time. He said it about sports writers. I'm saying it about sports writers and politicians. For the most part, both are the same. Tell you what they are. The little guy in your grade school and your high school that no one paid attention to. The little guy that was always around sports but never playing sports. The little guy that was always around girls and always the friend of the high school girl. See, the politician, though, was different than the sports writer. The politician had wealth. The politician had scratch, so he went into politics. The little guy hanging around sports, he didn't have money, so he went into what? Sports writing. That's what they did. And I've said this forever. Here's the deal. Both groups get into trouble when all of a sudden they become popular. When all of a sudden the cool kids are starting to notice them. All of a sudden the girl with crooked teeth and glasses ain't the only one saying hello. Sweet Susie Purebred is saying, hey, how you doing? Because he got a little attention. And with politicians and sports writers, nobody handles it worse. The politician goes out and does stupid stuff. I mean, the list of arrests is long in the political realm. And in the sports world, the sports writer has to try so hard to be cool. I mean, he's trying so hard. I've said this for years, and they don't know how to act. See Greg Doyle. Greg Doyle, our friend at the Indy Star, got a little attention here in Indy. Single guy. Maybe for the first time in his life, maybe hot girls are looking at him. I don't know. But next thing you know, he made it about himself. Didn't know how to handle the fame. See, I'm no big-time star. But from the time I was 17, true story, 17, I've been in the public eye in Indiana. Not the bright Steve Alford public eye or Tyrese Halliburton, but I've been in the public eye, whether it was going to the state finals in high school, which all of a sudden brought you attention to the state, playing in Indiana, being a coach, whatever. Not big time, but you're always in it. So you understand how to handle it. So somebody says something good, that's great. Somebody says something bad, that's great. But politicians and sports writers have zero clue how to handle it. And I got to tell you, this pretty much sums it up from Dennis Prager talking to our friend Adam Carolla.
Sports writers are a particularly woke community.
Which is strange.
Well, I have a theory.
I want to hear it.
Yeah, I know you. I know he does, and I'm honored. So this is my theory. People yearn to be important. That is one of the most important yearnings, whether it's right or not, people have it, especially males, but increasingly females. Sports writer thinks after a day, you know what I did for the last year? I've written about the Baltimore Orioles and their new shortstop, and I haven't made a damn bit of difference on this planet.
Right.
So let me become a social warrior.
Yes.
And I believe that. I believe that about Hollywood.
Yes.
A lot of 2 generations ago, actors believed that what they did was significant, which I do believe is significant. To enable people to escape the difficulties of life for an hour and a half in a movie is a gift. You have done people a real service. But now, the starting in the 60s or 70s, actors thought, that's all I'm doing? I'm acting? I want to change the world. And so every profession, I'm just a teacher? I want to change the world. I'm just a journalist? I'm just a. And I really believe that is a major factor in why, let's say, sports writers took up the idiotic crusades of changing the names of these teams.
Yeah.
Absolutely. 100% right. I mean, it's not only that, but it's what I said. All of a sudden, man, they see out there, wait a second. I'm writing about a guy. He's getting more popular, but I'm the guy making him more popular. How can I get in that realm? You know, we kind of saw it yesterday. There was and I don't know if we have it or not. I sent it to the guys this morning. But there was a question asked of a couple of guys. Anthony Edwards and Karl Anthony Towns yesterday by an idiot, a complete dumbass named Vince Goodwill. Now, Vince Goodwill is a writer on the level of Greg Doyle and these other cretins. But anyway, he asked a question about, hey, you got to lose before you win in the NBA, which is actually not a stupid thing. You do have to go through losing. Like the level, Michael Jordan could not beat the Pistons, then he did. The Pacers could never beat the Knicks, and all this kind of stuff. I get what he was saying, but he's an idiot. And he said it like an idiot. And Karl Anthony Towns and Anthony Edwards embarrassed him. Dude, we lost the last 2 years in the playoffs. Dude, we've been losing for 20 years. And, of course, the sports writer, oh, come on, dog. Dog. That's the level of sports writer. The NBA sports writer is always trying to get down with the team, always trying to get down with the party, always trying to get down with going to the club, always trying to get down with the superstars. It's what they do. It's how they roll. Just the way it is. The NFL guy's just scared of the league. The NFL guy's like, oh, man, I don't know what I'm supposed to write, but I know this. I'm going to support Goodell. I'm going to support the league. I'm going to support everything about it because you know what? They could kill me. They're like the mafia. They'll crush my son. I mean, there's all different kinds. But all these guys and gals, they get a little popular, and it ain't just enough. It ain't even close to enough. I got to tell you, it's funny to me. It's interesting that people are starting to now pick up on it. So congratulations, Greg Doyle. You actually are the poster child for the douchebag sports writer. You are. You are the guy that people point to now and go, look, you make it about yourself. You think you're cute. You think you're clever. You're something other than the little douchebag that writes a story. Sit your ass down. Pacers, Knicks, baby. That's right. Pacers, Knicks, baby. See, if you watched ESPN yesterday, and this was really interesting, if you watched ESPN, and they've never gotten the pregame, halftime, and postgame show wrong, and I know exactly why, and ESPN knows. I've talked to the guy running it, or the people running it, and they're like, yeah, we got bad teammates. But ESPN's in love with names. They think Wilbon and Stephen A. Smith are going to tell you something about sports, but yesterday was over the line. Yesterday was incredible. The Pacers whipped the Knicks. But even me, who absolutely does not believe that broadcast teams are biased. I absolutely do not believe it. People used to say about me, you're biased towards Indiana or you're biased against Indiana in the same game, and I said, I did my job. Nobody knows what I am. But I am not the guy. Mike Breen is a professional. Look, J.J. Redick and Doris Burke are horrible. I like Doris. I don't know J.J. I've worked with Doris, nicest woman in the world. That's why she has the job, but she is horrible. Can't call a game to save her ass. J.J. Redick is the Mina Kimes of basketball. He's got all the little millennial sayings. The only difference is Mina Kimes has never set foot in a frickin' locker room other than ask a question, and J.J. Redick has. That's the only difference. But they're just little millennials that have all the little millennials speak. They're terrible. But this isn't what that's about. This was so bad yesterday in favor of the Knicks. So ridiculous. They didn't even talk about the Pacers until Mike Breen, and this is in game, at the end of the game, at the end of talking about the Knicks injuries and how gutsy the Knicks were, Breen finally had to bring it back to the Pacers. That's absurd. What the Pacers did, losing the sixth man of the year, potentially, with a young team in the Garden, Game 7, was fantastic, but you'd never know it. And even the national media started picking up on it. I mean, when guys that are East Coast biased themselves, like Andrew Marchand, Richard Deitch, and all these guys, when these guys start figuring it out, it's incredible because they don't want to do that. I'm going to read something. Andrew Marchand's text. Now, Andrew Marchand, if you don't know, is a very, very respected sports media writer for The Atlantic. He said this, ESPN, seriously, time to talk about the Pacers. Now, think about that for a second. Think about a national media writer. Even the guys that are based on the East Coast have to say, yo, might want to talk about the Pacers. Might want to get after it. And he's not the only one. It was actually kind of gross. No, it really was. It was kind of gross, and I'm sitting there going, I'm not this guy. I am not this guy. I am not the guy that says, well, you're biased. Well, you're there. I'm not. But God dang, was that awful. Look, they've never gotten the show right. They just haven't. Richard Deitch, media critic. I love NYC. I lived there for many years. Will always be my home, even though I now live in Toronto. But can I be real here, Deitch said. Game 7 was a ridiculous Knicks-centric production. And if you are a Pacer fan who's like, hey, are you kidding me? I get it. Sports media, ESPN should be embarrassed about the product it put on air today. But I'm not sure there's enough self-awareness in Bristol. A bit, again, to Andrew Marchand. If ESPN is concerned about East Coast bias, having nearly the entire pregame centered around the Knicks certainly doesn't help. What's up next? Stephen A. Smith pep talk? Brad Powers, same kind of guy. Watch ESPN ABC treat a Game 7 like a major sport, like they were a local team affiliate in a mid-sized TV market. The Knicks aren't the Cowboys. They don't move the needle. Listen to this. Embarrassing coverage. Pacers-Knicks, Game 7, Sports Media Watch. ESPN, Stephen A. Smith, open, yelling alongside Spike Lee. 90-second, this is in the open yesterday, 90 seconds of Marv Albert laying out the stakes for both teams from 1995. Does a neutral fan go into this game with any idea of what is at stake for Indiana? Honestly, I'm not sure they go into this game with any idea of what's at stake for New York, as ESPN only discussed the Knicks in the context of Stephen A's fandom. It goes on and on. Ooh, even the worst among us, a racist named Clarence Hill Jr. with the Dallas Morning News. Pacers' perspective got no run on ESPN ABC pregame show. What happened to journalism breaking down what's at stake? Look, that was ridiculous. It was sad, and I ain't that guy. People in Indianapolis are always complaining about the East Coast bias, the lack of coverage for the Pacers, the lack of respect for the Colts in the national media, and I'm not that guy. My answer is, hey, win. Well, yesterday they won. They beat the Knicks in New York, in MSG, on national TV, on a beautiful Sunday. And all it was some idiot, Stephen A. Smith, acting like an idiot. I mean, does anybody even know who Spike Lee is anymore? Like, I get it, in the 90s, he was doing commercials with Jordan, doing good movies, and I'm not pandering here. I enjoyed the movies. But damn, all he is a little munchkin clown dressed up like a clown. I mean, what's the deal? Nah, but it's the same. I don't even know why I ask, because I know the answer. I do. I know the answer. And I was texting with two very prominent ESPN basketball analysts last night, and they both hit me up after I sent my tweet out about how ridiculous and how awful it is. They both said it's amazing here. The freaking, well, I can read it to you if you'd like. I don't want to, because I don't want the person to think I'm sharing personal text. But Stephen A. Smith runs this joint, and it's a joke. That was one of them. They've never gotten this show right. This show has always sucked, will always suck, and cannot ever not suck. And here's the reason. Bad teammates. Bad team. I mean, think you got old crumpled up Mike Wilbon, who I like, but old crumpled up Mike Wilbon, couple women you've never heard of, a backstabbing little girl in that Andrews lady. Look, I get it. Diversity doesn't go both ways. You put the sacrificial white guy on there and Bob Myers, but the best you got talking basketball is Tim Legler, and it ain't close. Certainly ain't J.J. Redick and Doris Burke. Doris Burke was talking about what women do, like some psychological babble. Like, I'm like, oh, no, she's morphed into another woman analyst. Watch softball this month. Softball is great to watch. And it's all these little young women analysts who get hired by the grand dragon of women's sports, Meg Aronowitz, a lesbian that left her husband, and when her husband worked for her, she treated him like shit, and because she was a lesbian, got away with it. True story. Like, treated this guy horribly after they got divorced when she switched teams. Now she hires all these young little girls to be her analysts. Well, guess what? They don't know jack squat. They're all like 28-year-old players. Okay. And all they talk about, feelings. They're so fired up. Blah, blah, blah. And Doris morphed into that. I covered a lot of ground right there. Bottom line, Pacers kicked the Knicks' ass. Our guy Guns owes me something. If he doesn't pay, I'm calling him out every day. And the production pre-halftime post sucked on ESPN, but it always sucks. Even when Sage Steele was doing it, she was the host. She's like, yeah, this show sucks. Bad teammates, self-promoters. Bah! Anyway, oh, my boy, Nikola Jokic got his ass kicked. Yeah, he did. Up 20 at home. Mile high, 52-80. Next thing you know, whoop, 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 whoop. Anthony Edwards got it going a little bit in the second half. But, hey, this Naz Reid, in the middle of the fourth quarter, I got to tell you, Naz Reid, who's from LSU, man, oh, man, he's dunking rebounds, he's blocking shots, he's running the floor, he's making – I don't know. All I know is when I was watching, and I ain't going to lie, I had some stuff to do. I had some calls to make. I started watching. I took a dump. I took a shower. Got into bed early. Was trying to read, didn't. Was watching the game. And Naz Reid was the man. And I'm happy for guys like that. Can we start getting the Naz Reids in there and start getting rid of the Patrick Beverleys and the Morris twins and all these other idiots that run around in the NBA just being pains in the ass? Can we get rid of them? Like, let's have more Anthony Edwards and Karl Anthony Towns and less freaking, I don't know, Patrick Beverley. Maybe I'm wrong. More Mike Conley, less Patrick Beverley. That'd go a long way in the world that we live in. Hey, this is kind of weird to me. And I don't think this matters because talent always wins out. But what the hell is going on with Marvin Harrison Jr.? Fanatics is suing Marvin Harrison Jr. for breach of contract. Marvin Harrison Jr. is like becoming this eccentric guy. Is he already a diva wide receiver without catching a pass in the NFL? His father, Marvin Harrison Sr., was anything but a diva wide receiver. Interesting stuff here. Listen to this. But while he hasn't signed the NFLPA agreement, Fanatics claims Harrison has an existing deal with the company. That arrangement with Harrison signed before his last season at Ohio State is worth more than $1 million. It's for autographs, signed trading cards, game-worn apparel, and other marketing opportunities. Fanatics said in a suit that it paid Harrison in August and October. Oh, man. This is where you're stupid. But the brand claims Harrison has failed to fulfill his obligations despite several requests from Fanatics over the past few months. The suit claims that Harrison has rejected or ignored every request. Meanwhile, Harrison is selling memorabilia through the official Harrison Collections website. Items include photos ranging from basically $100 to $150, jersey at $300, helmet for as much as $450. Site also says Cardinals memorabilia coming soon. States that this is the only website to purchase signed Harrison memorabilia. Oh, man. Fanatics, I don't feel bad for you. You got screwed, but damn, don't you know? Don't you know not to give the money up front to these clowns? You gotta know. I understand you're jumping up and down, standing on your head and crapping snowballs because I got Marvin Harrison. He's going to sign stuff. We're going to make money. Oh, no. And you gave him the money up front. Look, I got a brother and a couple cousins, all lawyers, big shot lawyers. My brother at one point was going to be an agent. He's like, he started handling, he was the go-between between Bob Knight and our players and big-time agents. And he's like, yeah, I ain't doing that crap. These people are horrible. These players are awful. I think there's an NBA player that played in the league for like 20 years, still owes my brother $10,000. I said, that's on you. Players are idiots. What are you, nuts? Why would you give anybody that you don't know $10,000? And he could afford it. It's no big deal. However, it's a lesson for everyone. Don't get in bed with young NFL or NBA players in business. And for damn sure, don't front them the money and expect it back. If you front them the money, assume it's a loss. Put it on your taxes as a loss, because these clowns are about as irresponsible as it gets. Every once in a while, you'll see somebody isn't. But damn, Fanatics, you're smarter than that. Apparently you're not. Marvin Harrison Jr. did what people do. He got over on you. That's what they do. That's what athletes do. Particularly basketball players. They're the worst of the worst. You ain't seeing any money. I guarantee you, you ain't seeing nothing. I hope you do. We'll keep our thumb on this story. But damn, don't ever give these idiots money up front and then expect services. They're too important in their own mind. And remember, they're also too important in the little white guy that hangs around with them's mind too.